So, hello everybody. My name is Adeline Farrelly, and I'm Secretary General of FEVE, the European Container Glass Federation. And it's a real pleasure to be with you today and moderating this next episode of the LinkedIn Q&As, Future Made Clear. And today we're going to focus on the very important topic of glass recyclability as a brand asset. So you might remember that just last week, April 22nd, was the World Earth Day, where we were reminded of the very big need to take action to safeguard our planet, but also to protect our natural resources. And the glass packaging industry has been working very hard and committed to design and build and improve our production system, and especially the endless recycling asset of glass, which will save resources. Um, and the question we have today is recyclability of glass, is it a brand asset? And so, how far is glass recycling just taken for granted? Because it's been around for quite a long time. Um, but the question is, can we position it better towards consumers? Together, of course, with all the other assets of glass, can it be positioned as a point of differentiation and a proof, actually, of the brands and the retailers' engagement to protect our planet and, as a consequence, our natural resources? So that's what we're going to look at in this episode, Future Made Clear Q&A. We have the pleasure to hear from key representatives of brands and retailers on how they are promoting glass assets like recyclability towards consumers, but also how they are engaged to recycle more and better glass through to their involvement in a pioneering initiative in Portugal called the Platform Vidromas. So, turning to my panelists, thank you for being with me today. I'd like to thank Graça Borges, who's Head of Communications, Public Affairs and Sustainability for the Superboc Group, the largest Portuguese company of refreshing beverages, who joins me today. Welcome, Graça.
Hello, good morning. Thank you, Adeline. It's really a pleasure to be here today sharing this Q&A session with you and Mariana, and hopefully I can contribute to the discussion. Maybe just to do a little bit of a brief introduction of myself. So I have a career with more than 20 years in fast-moving consumer goods, and I've worked in various categories and different roles, from brand marketing to customer development, and right now with this role in external communication and sustainability as well. I do believe in brands, and I believe in brands that have a clear purpose. And by purpose, I also mean brands that also help us to have a better planet Earth.
Thank you, Graça. Thank you. And I'm also delighted to welcome Mariana Silva, who's Head of Sustainability of MC Portugal. It's a leading retailer in Portugal, and I'm very happy that you're joining me today, Mariana.
Well, thank you, Adeline. Very happy to be here sharing this space on LinkedIn with all the attendees and with you and Graça, and share a little bit of the work that we've been doing at Sanai, me over the past 6 years, where I've been working on the corporate responsibility, sustainability and reporting field, and share what our perspective on packaging, on glass, and how important that is to fulfill this ambition to create today a better tomorrow. So really happy to be here with you today.
Good. So maybe just before we begin, I'd just like to remind those our audience that you can post your questions on the chat, and we will going to try and answer them later at the end of the session. So let's just get started. I'm going to start with you, Graça.
Okay.
So we often hear about storytelling. Storytelling is really a powerful way that brands are using stories to reach customers. And so maybe you could say a few words about how are brands like Superboc using glass packaging to build a story about the brand itself?
Okay, well, interesting question, and let me start maybe by saying that we really do rely on the packaging options for our brands to not just to communicate, but as well to interact with consumers. And for us, glass packaging is like our brand's identity card, and in fact, it is recognized by consumers because it allows us to tell the brand stories, but as well to prove commitment towards environment. And glass is really authentic as our brands because it has a strong connection with nature itself as a material. So, and we know that the more we recycle and the more we incorporate recycled glass in a new bottle, the less sand is used. So, this endless recyclability is really something quite powerful in terms of storytelling. We know currently that our bottles, the amber color ones, the beer bottles, already incorporate recycled glass. However, we are not yet able to state or communicate the percentage of recycled glass that we incorporate in each bottle. And as the largest beverage company in Portugal, with the core business. So we have a core business in beer and mineral water. Superbox shares really a deep connection with the packaging industry for more than 135 years. And by far, our Superbox beer sales sits in glass bottles, being returnable or one way. So it is natural for us that our advertising relies on the Superboc bottle image. And it's also really natural for us to launch innovations based on iconic bottle. It's a trademark, so it's really a strong symbiosis that we have between the glass packaging and the brand, and that is already recognized by consumers as when they see a Superboc bottle, they really connect us with friendship and the authentic moments. So glass, I can say that our glass bottle is clearly supporting the brand narrative.
So yeah, so it's helping to to sell the brand story, and you would also have a call out there for being able to put the percentage of recycled content on your bottles in the future. But maybe as a follow up on that, so you know, we're discussing how recycling can be a brand asset for you. And given that Superboc presumably also packs not only in glass but also in aluminium, and they are both recyclable, how do you as a brand, make the differentiation then between the two materials? And in particular, are there any specific consumer moments that you could share with us regarding the experience that consumers have between beer and glass specifically?
Yeah. So we know that Portuguese value glass over other packaging materials. So they really prefer to have the beer on a glass bottle, and that is throughout the majority of the consumer moments. We know that according to Kantar, 78% of Portuguese try to buy more eco-friendly packaging. And so we see three distinctive attributes on a glass bottle. First, it's really symbolic due to the iconic shape that most of the bottles have and that link with the brand identity. It also has a strong sustainable values because of the endless recyclability of glass and the functional attributes. a bottle has only one layer, it's inert, it really helps to preserve the product in the best conditions. And as beer is quite sensitive to light, we know that a strong light filtering bottle is really key to preserve the beer from aging or from going flat. Um, Apart from that, also important to say that in Portugal we have one of the strongest Horeca channels with more than 70,000 points of sale. But we really face quite some challenge in terms of recycling rates. And being the glass bottles 100% recyclable and can be reused up to 50 times, which is really a unique standing point. The question we put ourselves most often is how many consumers do really know that a glass bottle is produced with recycled material? Are they conscious that the more they recycle, the more percentage of this raw material can be incorporated in a new bottle? So yes, they value glass. Yes, they prefer glass bottles over almost all the consumption occasion, yet we feel that we need to support them in knowing more about these attributes.
Yeah.
And I believe that the glass wall mark can definitely help us on this journey.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's a nice segue to Mariana, because you are a representing retailer, MC Portugal. So you sit really between Superboc and brands like Superboc and the consumer. Um, and basically, how do you think MC Portugal can support a brand in creating its own narrative around packaging? So maybe you could say a few words and tell us what are you doing as a retailer to help communicate to consumers?
Okay, so, well, as Graça shared, we do believe that packaging has a very important role when it comes to communicate and to interact with consumers. It is a direct channel between the brand and the consumers, and being so, it should use this channel to communicate and promote more responsible consumption patterns. And At the same time as the products proliferate in our shelves, brands need to differentiate themselves with storytelling. And we understand that around 70% of the purchasing decisions are made in stores. So packaging really needs to tell this story at the first sight. And I think it's at that moment that we as retailers can help reinforcing that message through the placement on the shelves, but also by providing more information in stores, having specific initiatives to explain to our consumers the importance of glass, of recycling, and so on, and create more awareness around this important aspect. We understand this is particularly important for consumers, as the consumers are more aware of the sustainability agenda as a whole, and brands are perceived as an important part of the transformation that is needed. So consumers expect that brands to make tangible steps towards sustainability. There is a growing expectation that the products that they already buy and consume will be developed integrating those concerns, and they want to know how their choices can have that positive impact. And we as retailers can help to close this loop of information and reinforcing all those important messages.
Absolutely. So yes, I mean, all our research also shows that the consumers are much better informed today and are demanding that the brands and companies do more on sustainability. Um, but just on that, on consumer attitudes, do you feel the key priorities for consumers are changing? I mean, is that also your experience, and especially when it comes to purchasing products in the supermarket, and maybe to have a few words to say about the millennials and Gen Z generation. Are their priorities changing?
Yes, definitely. Consumers are changing. They expect the products they purchase to be produced in accordance with best practice, in order to reduce their own footprint. And packaging is undoubtedly one of the dimensions that it's most easily evident whether this is concern from the brand side. Some of the studies that we know show us that around 75% of Europeans are worried about the environmental pollution caused by littering. And for 35%, this is the most relevant issue when they're deciding on what products to buy. And the Generation Z is very assertive on that aspect, and we believe they will deeply affect the future of consumption. These young consumers want to purchase with purpose, make sure that they buy a product that it's not impacting their life and negatively in a bad way. So yes, we do believe that consumption patterns are changing and will change even more in the future.
Yeah. The Generation Z are very, I guess we could call conscientious consumers. So maybe just on the note of a brand, Superboc, apart from promoting recycling as a brand asset, you need to trigger as a brand. You need to trigger an emotional connection with consumers to engage them. So, how do we communicate recycling as a brand asset in that sort of context? Graça, you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry. Maybe I would start by saying that beer category has been really evolving and is now offering consumers throughout the world more variety and more diversity. And in this movement, the glass has been playing a key role. And in the past, we were looking at packaging overall as a mere cost for brands. Useful because it was protecting the quality and allowing distribution of the product. But now packaging is increasingly gaining this this point of being a powerful brand asset, especially if we see or consumers sees the eco-friendly attributes that the packs have. And so glass is offering really this powerful response to consumers' demand on, having more premiumization, more personalizations. Yet we believe that we are still on a journey ahead. And if we look into PET packaging, for instance, what we are seeing is that brands are building the recycling assets, stepping up the regulation that exists, obliging the incorporation of a certain percentage of recycled PET, or even launching 100% recycled PET bottles. So we are seeing this movement. But again, I stress that glass already has a journey here, yet probably not has not yet the most awareness on this topic for consumers. So we really need to communicate crystal clear to consumers this point of recycling as a brand asset, and therefore also changing preference and the desires for consumers to going into a more diverse, eco-friendly brand that has packaging supporting this journey.
Absolutely. So consumers are passionate about recycling, passionate about doing something for the environment, and a brand can use that to trigger that emotion among consumers to do the right thing and
Yeah.
to recycle more. So okay, so we see that consumers are driving the change for more sustainable products, Mariana.
Mhm.
And there's also we see a shift in the value chain as a whole. Graça, you mentioned PT, but there's we can see this change everywhere. Um, but in 2030, recycling will no longer be a differentiator anymore, as all packaging will have to be reusable and recyclable. So maybe to ask you, Mariana, for MC, what's next on the sustainability journey?
So, Alan, we completely agree with you and Graça, and consumers are clearly one of the driving forces of this change. We see in recent research that around 75% of the companies surveyed agree that being sustainable led to an increase in the loyalty of their customers, and the brand awareness improved. Considering their sustainability profiles. But we do believe there is a lot of work still to be done. It's not enough to have the consumers as a driving force. We really have to push for this systemic transition all across the value chain. And even though the glass industry, the retailers have focused on sustainability for some years now, there is still a lot of work to be done. And so all stakeholders play here a really important role. And it is critical to ensure that everyone understands the role they can play. And regarding packaging, we believe there's a lot of room for improvement when we look at the full footprint of packaging. How can we decarbonize our packaging? How can we reuse it more? So a lot of work still to be done ahead.
Yeah, yeah, certainly. There's no time to rest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe just as a conclusion to that, given that sustainability is really, as you say, covering a lot of different elements. Could we, if we narrow it down just to recyclability for the moment, glass recyclability, is it a particularly cost-effective way to help build brand equity at the moment?
Um,
Rasa, that's great. I'll ask you.
yeah. I would say that picking up a bit on also on what Mariana was mentioning, indeed consumers are increasingly scrutinizing the actions that companies they purchase from are doing, and so it's more important than ever that brands do communicate in a proactive way on the issues that care more for them, for consumers, which is primarily health and sustainability. And brands must also meet consumers where they are with this message everywhere, being online, social media, in store, on the streets, and obviously on pack. So I would say that brands must be responsible and informed, communicate packaging sustainable attributes to promote circularity, because a glass that I buy today has the value to become a new bottle tomorrow. And so I would say, answering to your question, that glass recyclability can be cost effective if we are able to increase the bottle bank, so recycling of glass, so that we have more incorporation of a used bottle into a new bottle, and spare natural resources, sand, from in the production of a new bottle. So I don't know, picking up on my points from previous questions in this discussion, when a Superboc bottle will be able to claim that it's done, or any beer bottle can claim that it's produced from 100% of recycled bottle. But I'm pretty sure that this will have a huge impact, and we need the collaboration of consumers. And consumers can only collaborate if they know that if they recycle more, they are helping this and promoting this circularity.
And I think that is a very good introduction, in fact, to because I'd like to talk a little bit about the platform Vidromat. So this is a very concrete action that's been taken in Portugal to promote glass recycling, which involves the whole value chain. So not only consumers, but I mean, there's a lot of actors in that value chain, and this initiative is involving many different actors. It's a pioneering initiative, and the background to this initiative, and maybe I'll just highlight a couple of points before we go into the discussion. But Portugal actually is the European country with the highest production of glass per capita, and it therefore has a huge capacity to recycle more glass. However, there are difficulties in Portugal reaching the glass recycling targets. And so 2019, the recycling rate was just 56.1%. And that's clearly quite a low bar when you're considering that the country actually needs to get to 70% by 2025. And given that glass is 100% recyclable and infinitely so, what to do? And so this platform is actually addressing that. And I would just like maybe to maybe start with well, I want to ask you both of these because both MC and Superboc have joined this initiative. And so maybe starting with you, Mariana, this time, why did you join the platform?
Well, I mean, we do believe that to achieve our targets, it's only together, only joining efforts with all different stakeholders in the packaging glass value chain, from the manufacturers, the consumers, the retailers, the municipally systems, the waste treatment units, and so on. Will it be possible to boost the glass recycling in Portugal? We need to align process, to have a joint approach, and to have a common strategy. And only a platform as Vidromais will help us to do that in a very agile way and align and improve and incorporate the learnings that we're doing in the process. So we believe that Vidromais will be very helpful to promote our goal of achieving circularity of glass packaging in Portugal.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, it's a systems approach where the whole system has to work together. I mean, Gracia, what do you think are the main challenges then that this platform has to address?
Well, I would simply say that the main challenge is really to avoid any glass bottle or glass packaging going into landfill because it has value. It's not waste. And to increase the recycling rates, as Mariano mentioned, we can only do it in a collaborative way. And so that's why, since the first moment this platform, Vidromais, was created, we said we want to be part of it. And we believe that together, the members of this platform, Vidromais, can really support on maximizing the circularity of packaging, either, working on prevention or reduction of the impact that glass packaging can have on the environment, but as well ensuring a good balance, between economic and environmental aspects while we are promoting the increase of glass collection. We have to have a clear focus on the HoReCa channels because we know that's where probably we have a higher space to improve glass collection. And lastly, also ensuring that we maximize the potential of glass recovery, even at the households. And this platform can really promote this awareness raising and education activities, towards in a very synergetic way across HoReCa channel, retailers, but as well as consumers. Because we really need and must increase the quantity and quality of glass recycling.
I'm just, I mean, conscious of the time, but I'd like to ask you both, Mariana and Grasa, um, what are your future expectations with these partnerships working in this system, and does this tie in? How does it tie in fact, with your sustainability strategies?
Okay. So for MC, this kind of partnership is instrumental to safeguard our sustainability packaging policy, as it will be critical to address one of the main challenge impacts that we have, that is to close the loop of the use of glass. So working together, we can be more effective to mobilize the different actors in the supply chain to achieve this ambition.
Yeah, and maybe just also to say that this is also part of the European Close the Glass Loop initiative as well, that is happening in a lot of other countries, aiming to collect 90% of glass packaging put on the market by 2030. So, well, very best of luck to Platforma Vidra Mash to do that. Maybe Grasa, how do brands and companies get involved in the platform in Portugal if they want to know more?
Well, if they are interested in being a member of this platform, Vidromais, they just have to contact Smart Waste Association, which it's an association that really aims to develop this collaborative approach regarding circularity.
Okay. Okay, so thanks a lot for that. I I don't know whether we can get the name on the screen. Smart Waste Association. But maybe we might be able to take one or two questions just before we finish off. Um, so I see. Yes. Okay. So on the screen, you should see the question.
Yeah.
In the mix of communication channels, how do you rate the unpacked messaging to consumers? Both Superboc and MC have important iconography on their packaging, but do you feel that this will grow in the future given the greater demand of info from consumers when they choose and consume a product? So maybe, Mariana, could I ask you maybe to take that?
Yes, sure. We totally agree with this with the question raised here. It seems to us that this is a really important area to collaborate, even beyond the glass ecosystem. We should be able to ensure that between the different clusters. There's a greater alignment between the concepts and the communication tools that we have. We know the consumer is a bit confused with all the different concepts and symbols and iconography. So we really believe that there's an important role here to play and cross industries, just to guarantee that we are able to better communicate the different attributes of the packaging when we're talking about the packaging, or when we're talking about what's the best way to dispose and guarantee that it will be recycled or reused. So clearly an area to collaborate.
Yeah.
If I may jump in,
Sure. Yeah.
I would like to maybe share these. I know that the glass industry has worked on a glass hallmark, so on a symbol that could help communicate all the points that I mentioned before. So, the commitment that the glass industry, so glass packaging, has towards, a responsible use of natural resources. Also, this commitment towards recycling and the commitment towards protecting our environment, so towards a sustainable future. And maybe this is an example that could be, as Mariana was saying, a symbol that could be used cross packaging, glass packaging, that it's clearly communicated to all consumers everywhere, so that we are not using different symbols and confusing. So we have this mission also to communicate in a very clear and simple way to consumers if we want them to choose the habits and understand the benefit of having a glass pack.
Thank you, Grasa, for that. Indeed, for more information on the glass hallmark, we have a website called the glasshallmark.com website, and we will invite the audience to take a look at that. So I think we should, well, tie this episode up. Um, Maybe just a few takeaways. So obviously we hear from you. You confirm it that consumers are much more informed than they were. They're much more conscientious about their purchasing decisions. They do care about the planet, and recycling is a brand asset that can be that can help tell a story about a brand. Um, and we would like to have a call out to uh, companies and organizations in Portugal that are working with glass to please get in touch with the new platform, Platforma Vidromash, and to sit with your other colleagues to try and get those recycling rates up in Portugal. So maybe I just would like, well, first of all, say good luck with that work.
Thank you.
And I really appreciate the time that you gave us today to bring us through these different insights. And I'd like to also thank the audience who joined us live today in the LinkedIn session. So the next episode of Future Made Clear will take place in May, and we are hoping to send out the invitations very soon. So, Graza, Mariana, thank you very much. Thank you to everybody, and see you soon.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.